The last of her race, the sky was full of smoke. Buildings burned in the distance. The war between humans and alien invaders had turned the planet into ash. Sergeant Daniel Cross walked slowly through the ruins, rifle in hand, eyes sharp. His unit was gone. He was the last one alive. He moved carefully through a broken metal hallway, once part of an alien base. Strange lights flickered above. His boots crunched over debris and alien tech. Suddenly he heard a soft sound. Not a machine, not a weapon. A whimper. Daniel paused. He turned his head. The sound came again, like a weak voice calling out from behind a fallen steel beam. He rushed over, dropped to one knee, and pulled the heavy metal aside. What he saw made him freeze. It was a girl, an alien girl. Her skin shimmered like silver under the broken lights. Her eyes were big, glowing a faint blue. She looked young, maybe in her 20s. Her body was thin, fragile. Her long white hair was tangled and dirty. She was bleeding from the side, and she was shaking. Daniel raised his rifle, ready, but then she looked at him with fear. Not anger, not hate. "Please," she whispered. Her voice was soft and broken. "Don't shoot." Daniel's hands didn't move. His finger stayed near the trigger. "Who are you?" he asked coldly. The girl coughed. She tried to sit up but failed. "My name is Illyra." He didn't answer. Illyra looked into his eyes. A single tear rolled down her silver cheek. You're human," she said slowly. "Yes. Then you are my last hope." Before he could speak, she fainted. Daniel didn't know why he did it. Maybe it was instinct, maybe it was guilt. Maybe something in her eyes reminded him of someone he had lost. But he picked her up, light as a feather, and carried her out of the ruins. He found a half-destroyed human shelter 2 clicks away. No power, no heat, but at least no one else was there. He laid her down on an old military bed, patched her wound with a med kit, and waited. Hours passed. Then she woke. Illyra opened her eyes slowly. She blinked at the ceiling, then at the man sitting nearby, sharpening his blade. "You saved me," she said softly. Daniel looked at her without smiling. "Why did you say I was your last hope?" Illyra sat up slowly, holding her side. She looked weak, but her eyes still glowed with quiet strength. "Because I am the last of my kind," she said. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "My planet was destroyed. My people hunted by the Cathor Empire. I escaped. I came here. But I was too late. The others, they are all gone." Daniel frowned. He had heard of the Cathor, cruel, merciless conquerors, but he had never heard of Illyra's kind. "I don't understand," he said. "What do I have to do with this?" She looked down. Her hands shook. "My people. Our biology was special. Long ago we mixed our genes with others to survive. But now only one species remains that matches. One species with the right DNA." She looked up. "Humans." Daniel blinked. "You're saying I need you," she said. "If I don't reproduce, my species ends. Forever." The room went silent. Daniel stood slowly. "You want me to breed with you? To save your kind?" Illyra nodded, her face turning red with shame. "I know how it sounds. I didn't choose this, but I have no choice." He stared at her. She was not just some alien girl. She was the final chance for an entire race to survive. And somehow, fate had chosen him. Outside, the wind howled. Machines roared in the sky far away. The war was not over, but inside that ruined shelter, something greater had just begun. Not another battle, but a question. Would one human's choice decide the future of an entire alien race? Secrets in the shelter. The night outside was cold, but inside the shelter, tension made the air even colder. Daniel sat across from Illyra. His rifle still rested nearby, just in case. She was sipping warm water from a rusted tin cup, her silver fingers trembling. Her eyes, those glowing blue eyes, watched him like she was memorizing every breath he took. "You said I'm your last hope," Daniel repeated, his voice steady. "But how can you be sure? Why me?" Elira set the cup down with care. "Because I've seen you before." Daniel frowned. "What?" "In a vision," she said softly. "We don't just carry memories. We carry echoes of the future. My mother was a seer. She passed the gift to me. The last time I dreamed, before my world fell, I saw you, standing in fire, holding a child in your arms." His heart skipped. "That child had my eyes," she whispered. Daniel stood and turned away. "That's just a dream." "No," she said. "It was a message. Our biology isn't just science. It's connected to energy, memory, future. Our ancestors encoded themselves with abilities, some of them beyond logic." He stayed silent. Elira reached into the collar of her suit and pulled out a small glass orb. Inside it, strange lights swirled like a tiny storm. "This is our seed crystal," she explained. "It carries the DNA of my ancestors. I'm carrying the last viable genetic code of my people. It's dying, and without a bond, the crystal will crack." She held it up, the storm growing weaker inside. "You're not just compatible," she said. "You're fated." Daniel didn't believe in fate. He believed in action, in survival. But something deep inside twisted when he looked at that crystal, and at her. He sat back down. "Why didn't your people fight harder? Why run to Earth?" "We did fight," she said, her voice breaking. "We were peaceful for centuries. But when the Cathor found out that our blood could heal and merge, they saw us as tools, breeding machines." Daniel clenched his fist. "They wanted to use you?" She nodded. "We refused. So they burned our cities, hunted us like animals. I was hidden by the last elders, put into stasis and sent away. I woke up here, alone." Silence filled the room. Then she leaned forward. "You saved me. You didn't have to, but you did. I believe you're the one the crystal called to. That's why it hasn't cracked yet." Daniel glanced at it again. The swirl of light inside was now pulsing, slowly but steady. Suddenly, the shelter's warning system blinked red. Motion alert. Daniel grabbed his rifle. Elira's eyes widened. "They found me." "How?" "The crystal emits signals only when it senses a bond forming." "You mean because of me?" She nodded. "If they catch us, they won't just kill me. They'll tear the crystal from my body and use it to breed new slaves." Daniel didn't wait. He grabbed a pack, tossed her a coat, and opened the back escape hatch. Cold air blasted in. Snowflakes danced in the wind. He pulled her close and said, "We run now, or we die." They moved through the ruins like ghosts. Past broken tanks, crushed towers, and silent drones. The city was dead. But above, shadows moved, ships scanning the ground. Daniel led her through an underground tunnel, once used for military supply lines. There, in the darkness, Elira stopped suddenly. "What is it?" he whispered. She clutched her side. Her breathing grew heavy. "The crystal. It's stabilizing too fast. It thinks the bond is complete." Daniel stared. "But we haven't—" "I know," she said, gasping. "It doesn't care. It feels intent, emotion. If I don't calm it, it will force activation." He helped her sit on a crate. "What happens then?" Her voice shook. "I'll die." Daniel froze. This wasn't just about mating. This was about survival, hers, and maybe something bigger. She looked at him with teary eyes. "I'm scared." Daniel knelt beside her. "I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know what kind of man I am anymore. You're the man who didn't leave me behind," she said. And then, her hand reached out and touched his heart. Warmth spread. The orb in her hand pulsed once, then dimmed. The bond had paused. Above them, warships circled closer. Enemies were near. But in the dark tunnels below, a promise had been made. The human had taken the first step, and the last alien girl had found hope again. The DNA truth. They kept moving through the frozen underground. Pipes hissed with steam. Old walls cracked under time and war. But Daniel kept one hand on his weapon and the other on Elira's arm. She was getting weaker, her steps slower. The glow in her eyes dimming. They found a hidden room, once a tech control hub. It still had power. Just a faint hum, but enough. Daniel laid Elira on a bench and checked her pulse. "You're burning up." She nodded weakly. "The crystal? It's sinking too fast. My body can't handle the process." "Then stop it." She looked up at him. "I can't. It knows your DNA is near. It started bonding already." Daniel stepped back. "You keep saying that, but why me? Why my DNA?" Elira reached into her pouch and pulled out a thin metallic disc. She placed it on a working screen. The screen lit up. A 3D model of her body appeared next to a model of Daniel's. "Long ago, my people tried to survive extinction through science," she said. "We made ourselves adaptive. Our genes could merge with others, allowing us to survive through other species. But over time, most became too distant, too violent, too broken." She tapped the screen. "Only one species now shares the right genetic pattern and the right emotional frequency." Daniel raised an eyebrow. "Emotional frequency?" "Yes," she said. "You see with logic. We feel through memory. Our bonds are not made by force but by connection. Pain, loss, protection. Only those who feel deeply can connect." Daniel was silent. Then she pointed to his model. "You lost someone. Recently." He clenched his jaw. "My squad. And someone. Before that." "I know," she said gently. "I felt it the first moment I touched you." The screen changed. It showed a glowing thread moving between their models. "The bond has started." Even without the ritual. Daniel stepped back. "This is too much." Elira coughed hard. Her nose bled silver. She looked at him with fear in her eyes. "If the bond completes without my body ready, I will die." Daniel cursed under his breath and turned around, pacing the room. He didn't sign up for this. He was a soldier, not some savior, not some alien prince. And yet, the image of her lying there, shaking and bleeding, wouldn't leave his mind. He turned back. "What happens if we do nothing?" "The crystal will collapse," she whispered, "and my bloodline dies with it." He stared at her. Elira's voice shook now. "I didn't choose this path, Daniel. I didn't expect to meet a human. But when I did, I saw your scars. I saw someone who wouldn't run." He looked down at his shaking hands. "You saw wrong." "No," she said. "I saw a man who still cares, even when he pretends not to." Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered. The screen glitched. A warning appeared in alien script. Elira's eyes widened. "They've tracked my life signature. The Cathar are near." Daniel grabbed his gun. "How long?" "Minutes, maybe less." He pulled her to her feet. "We have to move." But Elira stopped him. "There's one more thing you need to see." She opened a hidden panel in the wall and removed a long silver needle. "What is that?" Daniel asked. "This is the truth," she said. "A test. If we connect with this, just for 1 second, it will show if your body can truly accept the crystal." She handed him the needle. "Press it to your skin, your shoulder." Daniel stared at it. He didn't like needles. But worse than that, he didn't like not knowing who he was becoming. Still, he pushed it into his skin. The moment it touched, he gasped. His vision flashed white. For a moment he saw fire, a baby's cry, stars twisting, and Elira holding his hand. Then it was gone. He fell to one knee. Elira rushed to him. "Daniel?" He looked up, eyes wide. "What was that?" "The future," she whispered. "It means you're compatible." He stared at her. And now, he believed, The ceiling shook. A blast rang out in the tunnel above. Daniel helped her to her feet. Let's go. You're not dying here. She looked into his eyes. You believe now? He nodded. No more running, he said. If your people are gone, then we start something new. Together they ran into the darkness, chased by death, driven by fate. The truth was clear. The last alien girl had found her match, and now, the galaxy would never be the same. Enemies in the sky, the tunnel shook again. Dust rained from the ceiling. Somewhere far above, engines roared. The Cathor had found them. Their scans had locked onto Elira's life signature, and now death was coming. Daniel pushed open an old service hatch and helped Elira through. Her skin was pale, her breathing shallow, but her eyes, those glowing blue eyes, still burned, with quiet fire. We won't outrun them, she whispered. Daniel looked up. The tunnel ahead split into two. Then we don't run, he said. We hide. And when they come close, we strike. They found an old maintenance chamber buried beneath the ruins. It had power. Half the systems were offline, but one still worked. A signal jammer. Daniel turned it on. The hum was soft, but the screen blinked green. Elira watched in awe. This could block their scanners for hours. Daniel nodded. We'll buy time. Elira sat on a crate, her hand on her chest. Her skin flickered with faint light. The crystal within her was glowing brighter, too fast. Daniel knelt beside her. You okay? She shook her head. The bond is accelerating. My body thinks we're in danger, so it's pushing the process. What happens if it finishes before you're ready? I'll burn from the inside. Daniel looked at her. He had seen soldiers scream in pain. He had seen friends die, families shattered. But none of it had hit like this moment, watching her fade. I won't let that happen, he said. Elira smiled weakly. You can't stop fate? No, Daniel said, but I can fight it. Outside, a Cathor drone zipped overhead. It hovered, scanning. The jammer flickered. Daniel raised his rifle, but it passed by. He exhaled. Then the floor boomed. A direct hit. The building above them collapsed in a cloud of ash and concrete. A chunk of the roof gave way. Rubble smashed down. Daniel pushed Elira to safety just in time. But now the jammer was gone. Its green light blinked once, then died. They'll know where we are now, Daniel muttered. Elira stood, wobbling. We have to move. Daniel helped her, wrapping his arm around her waist. There's a route to the lower mines. We can vanish down there. And if they follow, then I make sure they never come out. They ran into the deep tunnels. Each step echoed like thunder. Elira's body shimmered with heat. The crystal within her chest was now glowing bright, gold. The air around her felt electric. Something was changing, fast. They reached a collapsed shaft. The only way forward was down a narrow pipe. Daniel helped her in first. I've got you, he whispered. But as she crawled inside, her hand slipped. She screamed and slid. Daniel lunged, grabbing her wrist. Hold on. I can't. He tightened his grip, pulled with all his strength, and finally yanked her up. They collapsed together on the other side, breathing hard, hearts racing. She looked at him, tears in her eyes. Why do you keep saving me? Because I don't leave people behind, he said. She reached up and touched his cheek. You're more alien than you think, Daniel Cross. They didn't have much time. Drones were getting closer. They found a hollow underground chamber, once used for research. The walls were covered in alien symbols, Elira's people's language. She gasped. This is one of our hidden shrines. I thought they were all destroyed. Daniel helped her inside. What is it? It's a bonding chamber, a place of life, of beginnings. He looked around. The room pulsed with soft blue light. She turned to him, voice shaking. If we stay here, the bond will complete. And you'll survive? Yes, she said. But Once it completes, you'll be part of me. Forever, not just biologically. Emotionally, spiritually, no way back. Daniel looked at her. In that moment, the war outside felt far away. Her pain was real, her fear, her strength. He had saved her life 3 times. But maybe she had saved his. He stepped forward. I'm ready. Illyra's eyes filled with light. They walked to the center of the room. She placed her hand over her chest. The crystal glowed white. A soft hum filled the air. She reached for his hand. Close. Your eyes, Daniel did. The moment their palms touched, energy raced up his arm. Memories not his own flashed in his mind. Illyra's childhood, her mother's songs, her people dancing under twin moons. He saw her pain, her joy, her loneliness, and she saw his. Outside, a Cathor warship descended. Black as shadow, shaped like a beast, it hovered over the ruins. Inside the chamber, the light grew brighter. Daniel's veins lit up. His heart pounded. He screamed, but not in pain, in transformation. When it ended, he dropped to his knees. Illyra caught him. You're glowing, she whispered. He looked up. His eyes now flickered with her light. We're connected, she said. He stood, breath steady. Then let them come. The chamber door burst open. 3 Cathor warriors stormed in, tall, armored, claws ready. Daniel didn't hesitate. His body moved faster than before. He ducked, rolled, and shot one in the chest. It exploded in a ball of fire. The other 2 rushed. Illyra raised her hand. A wave of energy blasted them into the wall. They fell. Silent. The room fell quiet again. Daniel turned to her. That was, she smiled. That was us. Together they left the shrine, not as man and alien, but as one. The Cathor would keep hunting. The war wasn't over. But now, hope had teeth. And the last girl of her kind, she was no longer alone. The bonding ritual, the old shrine, lay silent now. The Cathor soldiers were gone, either dead or scared away by the shockwave. Daniel stood near the archway, breathing heavy, his hands still glowing faintly. His blood felt strange, like something new pulsed through it. Something not human, and yet not foreign anymore. Illyra stepped toward him. She looked stronger. Her silver skin now shimmered with deep color, like stars shining beneath the surface. But her face was still gentle, filled with quiet awe. The bond started in panic, she said. But it isn't complete. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Then, what was all that light, the energy blast? She smiled. That was the spark, the final flame is something else. She pointed to the center of the shrine, where 2 ancient stones stood side by side, shaped like thrones. A strange mist danced between them, glowing with soft pink and blue light. This is the sacred place of choosing, she said. Where 2 souls decide, not just to survive, but to build, to truly merge. Daniel glanced at the stones. Sounds romantic. It's more than that, Illyra said. This ritual can only be done if both hearts are open, not forced, not afraid. Daniel stepped forward. What happens in the ritual? Illyra walked to one of the stone seats. We show each other everything. No secrets, no lies. Your darkest memory, my deepest pain, nothing hidden. Once shared, the crystal will ask one question. What question? She looked into his eyes. Do you still want to stay connected even after knowing the truth? Daniel hesitated. He had secrets, memories he had buried, blood on his hands. He wasn't proud of what war had made him do. But Illyra, she was different. And something about her made him feel human again. He sat opposite her. Let's do it, he said. She nodded. They placed their palms together. The mist between them thickened. It swirled faster. Then, it shot upward, surrounding them in a glowing circle. Daniel gasped as his mind was pulled into another place. He stood in a memory, his own. He saw his younger self, laughing with his brother on Earth. Then the image changed. his brother's body lying still in the ruins of a city hit by alien bombs. He saw himself screaming, firing his gun wildly until his hands bled. He saw guilt, rage, emptiness. Then, he saw Elira's memories. She was a child running through shining silver fields. Her mother held her singing softly. Then fire fell from the sky. Her city burned. Her people screamed. Soldiers grabbed her. She was locked in a cold pod, launched into space. Alone. Pain. Silence. Isolation. The visions stopped. They were back in the shrine. Daniel's hands shook. Elira wiped tears from her cheeks. She whispered, "Now, the crystal will ask." The mist around them turned golden. A soft hum filled the air. Then a voice, not with sound, but in their minds, spoke one question. "Now that you both know the truth, will you still choose each other?" Daniel didn't. "Wait. Yes," he said. Elira looked into his eyes. "Yes." The light exploded. Not like before, not wild and violent, but warm, peaceful, full of life. Daniel felt something wrap around his heart, not heavy, just present. A thread connecting him to her, a soft pulse like a second heartbeat. He could feel her breath, her emotions, her strength, and she could feel his. The crystal in her chest stopped glowing wildly. It settled into a calm, golden light. Elira touched it. "It's done," she whispered. Daniel asked, "So, what now?" She smiled. "Now, we're one." Suddenly, the shrine shook again. Dust fell from above. Elira's face turned serious. The Cathor felt the bond. "They know I've completed the ritual. That means the crystal is now fertile." Daniel grabbed his gear. "They'll want to take you alive." "They won't," she said, "because now I'm not alone." They stepped outside the shrine. The sky was dark. Cathor ships circled above. But Daniel and Elira were different now. She held his hand. "You're no longer just human," she said. "You're part of something ancient, something powerful." "And what are you now?" he asked. She looked at the stars. "I'm not the last anymore." They began to move, side by side. The galaxy had changed. The Cathor wanted to stop a future that had just been born. But the bonding ritual had not just saved Elira's life. It had created a new beginning. A beginning written in shared pain, trust, and an unbreakable link. The Empire strikes. The sky burned red. Cathor warships hovered like vultures above the ruins, their engines roaring like thunder. Searchlights scanned the shattered world below, hunting for a signal. Her signal, Elira. The last fertile daughter of her race was no longer hidden. The sacred bond was complete. And now the Empire would stop at nothing to claim her. Daniel knew they were coming. But he wasn't the same man anymore. He had changed. Inside a cratered bunker just beyond the shrine, Daniel stood with his back to the wall, loading his rifle. Elira stood beside him, her eyes glowing steadily. The crystal, inside her chest, pulsed softly, alive, but calm. Bonded. "We can't outrun their ships," she said. "We won't," Daniel answered. "We make them bleed," she looked at him. "If they capture me, they won't." He glanced at her, and something in his gaze made her stop speaking. He wasn't just a soldier anymore, not just a protector. Now he was something more. Partner, a bonded mate, a future. Above them, a Cathor dreadship descended, massive, black, and shaped like a beast with wings. The ground shook. Cracks spread like spiderwebs across the landscape. A voice boomed from the ship's speakers. Cold, mechanical. "Surrender the female, surrender the crystal, or be terminated." Daniel stepped out from the bunker, rifle ready. He aimed at the ship and smiled. "No," he said. Then he fired. The explosion hit the ship's scanner array. Sparks rained down. The beast roared and turned, releasing spider-like drones from its belly. They dropped to the ground, crawling, scanning, targeting. Daniel backed into the bunker. They'll breach in seconds. I'll help, Elira said, stepping forward. Daniel grabbed her hand. Not yet. Let them come. He placed small charges along the entrance. The moment the first drone touched the doorway, it triggered. Boom, shrapnel, and fire lit the sky. 3 drones gone instantly, but more came. Too many. Inside, Elira closed her eyes. The crystal on her chest began to glow again, brighter and faster. What are you doing? Daniel shouted. Calling them, she said softly. Calling. Who? My ancestors. The crystal released a soft hum that echoed through the earth. The shrine behind them lit up once more. From it, old lights spread across the broken land, lines of energy that stretched out like veins, weaving into the planet's crust. Daniel looked around. What is this? Elira's voice trembled. This world was not just where I hid. It was once a place of power for my people, the last sacred ground. And I am its final key. Suddenly, the shrine exploded in white light. A barrier formed in the air. Pure energy. It struck the incoming drones, melting them mid-air, but the dreadship above charged its main cannon. Daniel saw the power build. They're going to destroy everything. Elira looked at him calmly. Then we destroy them first. She stepped into the center of the glowing shrine. The light covered her, rising like a cocoon. Her silver skin turned radiant. The ground trembled. Daniel stared as she floated into the air. Then the cocoon opened, and Elira, now glowing like a goddess, raised her hand. From the earth, pillars of energy shot upward, piercing the dreadship. The ship screamed, metal cracked. The sky shook. And then, the ship exploded in a massive ball of fire and light. The force knocked Daniel back. He hit the ground hard. When he looked up, the sky was calm again. Smoke drifted through the air. Elira slowly floated back down, her skin dimming, her breath shaky. Daniel caught her in his arms before she collapsed. You're insane, he said, smiling. She looked up at him with a weak grin. We won. He held her tightly. No. You won. No, she whispered. We did. Hours later, they stood at the edge of the shrine, watching the wreckage of the dreadship fall like burning stars. The Cathor had lost, but the war was not over. This was just one ship, Daniel said. More will come. Elira nodded. Let them come. He looked at her. You're not scared? She took his hand and placed it on her chest, where the crystal now beat like a second heart. I have something they'll never understand, she said. What's that? A human by my side. In the silence that followed, something strange happened. The sky cleared, the wind calmed, and for the first time, the planet felt alive again. It was no longer just a hiding place. It was home. The first heartbeat of hope. The warship wreckage still burned in the distance, pieces of dark Cathor metal glowing like fallen stars across the ruined land. The sky, once full of enemy drones and death, now lay quiet and open, streaked with the soft light of a coming dawn. Daniel stood on the edge of a cliff near the ancient shrine, watching the sunrise. Behind him, a new world was beginning. 3 months had passed. The shrine had been rebuilt using both human hands and ancient alien tech. Daniel and Elira had worked side by side with a few surviving humans and hidden alien allies who had finally come out of the shadows. Many had thought the last of Elira's kind was gone, but now, whispers spread across galaxies. The last daughter lived, and she had bonded. Daniel walked into the inner chamber of the shrine, where Elira sat quietly on a round stone bench. Her silver dress shimmered in the morning light. Her long white hair flowed over her shoulders like a river of light, but her face held something new. Peace. And beneath that peaceful face, resting under her glowing hand, was something even more precious. Life. Her body was changing now, not just because of the bond, but because the child inside her was growing, the first of its kind, half human, half Anari, a symbol of hope. Daniel knelt in front of her. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Tired," she smiled. "But it's a good kind of tired." He placed his ear gently against her stomach, and for the first time, he heard it. Thump, thump. A soft, steady heartbeat. It wasn't like his own. It wasn't like hers either. It was new. It was the sound of a future. Daniel looked up, eyes wide. "That's incredible." Elira's voice was soft. "Our child. The first true bridge between worlds." He placed his hand over hers. "Then we protect this heartbeat, no matter what." Outside, scouts returned to the temple with news. Cathor, movements were slowing. After losing a dreadship and failing to capture the bonded pair, the Empire had entered a temporary retreat. Rumors said some in the Empire feared a prophecy, the prophecy of a child born from both flame and light. A child that could undo their control. Daniel didn't believe in prophecies, but he did believe in her, and that was enough. One night, Elira stood by the edge of a quiet lake near the shrine. Moonlight touched the water. Her reflection shimmered. Daniel stepped beside her. "You okay?" She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "I was never supposed to survive. I was the backup plan, the emergency vessel. If something went wrong, I was sent away, locked in stasis like cargo." He looked at her. "But now you're more than that. I never imagined I'd live long enough to carry a future," she whispered. "Or that I'd be loved." Daniel wrapped his arm around her. "You're not alone anymore." She turned to him. "Promise me something," she said. "Anything. If something happens to me, if the Empire returns, don't let them take our child." Daniel nodded. "Not even the stars will be far enough if they try." The next morning, a small group of refugees arrived. Humans, aliens, survivors from distant colonies. They had heard stories of a place that stood against the Empire, of a woman with silver skin and a man with earth blood who fought together. They begged to stay, to build, to protect what had begun. Daniel and Elira welcomed them. Tents became homes. Walls were built. The shrine turned into a small city, glowing softly each night with Anari light. And soon the first child would be born. But peace never lasts forever. One starless night, a deep pulse echoed through the sky. A black beacon lit up on the horizon. Daniel looked through the scope of his rifle. "Cathor," he said. Elira stood beside him, calmer than before. "They're testing us," she said, "sending signals to see if we fear them." Daniel lowered the scope. "I hope they get an answer." That same night, something unexpected happened. Elira went into labor early. The healers rushed. Daniel held her hand as her body glowed with a mix of pain and light. The shrine pulsed with energy. Ancient walls hummed with power, reacting to the birth of something they had never witnessed before. The child was born just before dawn, small, glowing, beautiful. 10 fingers, 2 eyes, one blue like Daniel's, one glowing like Elira's. The baby didn't cry. Instead, she opened her eyes wide and smiled. Daniel held her in his arms. "I never thought I'd be a father," he whispered. Elira touched the baby's cheek. "And I never thought my people would exist again." They named her Elian, a blend of both their worlds, and when Elian's soft hands touched the crystal on Elira's chest, it glowed bright gold, brighter than ever before. Outside the shrine, the black Cathor beacon went dark, as if something had warned it. Hope has returned. The future has begun. Weeks later, Daniel stood at the edge of a field, watching the stars. Elira approached, Elian asleep in her arms. "Still worried?" she asked. He nodded. "They'll be back stronger, angrier," she smiled. Then let them come. He looked at her. I'm not scared anymore, he said. Because you're a father now? She asked. No, he said, stepping close. Because I have something worth fighting for. Above them, the galaxy watched. A human warrior, an alien, mother, and a child born of two dying worlds, who would one day lead the stars.